Part 1, The Power of Obsessive Clarity, Introduction and First Steps. Have you ever sat in your favorite chair, looking out at the garden or the street, and wondered, is this all there is? Like there's still something burning inside you, something you've always wanted to do, but life just got in the way. Maybe it's a dream you tucked into a drawer decades ago. A book you wanted to write. A project you wanted to start. A legacy you wanted to leave. Or maybe it's simpler than that, a quiet longing to feel truly alive again, to wake up with purpose, even now. Here's the truth, your age isn't a limitation. It's your greatest advantage. You've got decades of wisdom, resilience, and grit that number 25-year-old can match. And today, we're going to talk about how to use that wisdom to turn whatever's still burning inside you into reality. Not someday. Now. This is about obsessive clarity and how it can transform your vision into something unstoppable. Clarity isn't just for CEOs and 20-somethings with vision boards. It's for you. For the person who knows time is precious but refuses to let it slip away without meaning. So let's talk about how to find that clarity and why it's the key to living boldly, no matter your age. Let's start with the basics. What is obsessive clarity? It's not about chasing every passing idea. It's about digging deep to find the one thing that makes your heart race, the project, purpose, or passion that's worth your focus, energy, and time. Think of it like this: when you were younger, you might have had to juggle a dozen responsibilities. But now, you get to choose. You get to say, this is what matters. And that focus? That's your superpower. Let me tell you about my friend Margaret. At 72, she decided she wanted to paint landscapes. Not just dabble, really paint. She'd never taken an art class, but she had this vision of her work hanging in a local gallery. Most people told her, why start now? But Margaret? She got obsessively clear. She wrote down her goal, bought brushes the next day, and dedicated 1 hour every morning to painting. No excuses. No waiting for inspiration. 2 years later, she hosted her first exhibition. And let me tell you, when I saw her standing there, grinning beside her paintings, she looked 20 years younger. Margaret's secret wasn't talent or luck. It was clarity. She decided what she wanted, then built her days around it. And that's the first step I want you to take today. Grab a notebook, a napkin, whatever's nearby. I'll wait. Now, ask yourself, what's the one thing I'd do if I couldn't fail? Not 10 things. 1. Maybe it's reconnecting with family. Writing those stories for your grandkids. Starting a community garden. Learning an instrument. Whatever it is, write it down. Don't overthink it, just let it flow. This isn't about being realistic. It's about being honest. Once you've got it, here's the next step: ask why. Why does this matter to you? Dig deeper than it'd be nice. Margaret didn't paint because it was nice, she did it because creating beauty made her feel alive again. Your why is your fuel. It's what'll get you up on mornings when motivation fades. So write that down too. Keep it somewhere you'll see it every day, taped to the fridge, on the bathroom mirror. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. But what if I'm wrong? What if I pick the wrong goal? Here's the thing, clarity isn't about perfection. It's about direction. You can adjust course as you go, but you've got to start somewhere. And here's the best part, the act of pursuing something, anything, with focus will energize you in ways you can't imagine. It'll remind you that you're still growing. Still learning. Still alive. Maybe your vision feels small. That's okay. Maybe it's walk around the block without pain or call my sister every week. Clarity doesn't care about scale. It cares about truth. What matters is that it's yours. That it lights a fire in you. So here's your mission before we meet again: sit with that vision. Write it. Refine it. And ask yourself, what's the first tiny step I can take tomorrow? Because next time, we're going to talk about how to turn that clarity into action, how to build momentum, even when doubt creeps in. And trust me, you're going to want to hear this. Part 2, The Power of Obsessive Clarity, Turning Vision into Action. So, you've written down your vision. That one thing that makes your heart race. Maybe you've even taped it to your fridge or whispered it to yourself in the mirror. But now, what? How do you turn that spark into a flame that keeps burning, even on days when doubt or fatigue tries to snuff it out? Let me tell you about Harold. At 68, Harold decided he wanted to rebuild the community garden his town had forgotten. He'd never organized a project like this before, and when he shared his idea, some folks chuckled. "You're retired, just relax," they said. But Harold didn't want to relax. He wanted to dig. So he started small. One afternoon, he planted a single row of tomatoes in that overgrown lot. Just tomatoes. No grand plan. No committee meetings. Just him, some seeds, and a rusty shovel. Within weeks, neighbors started stopping by. Need help, they'd ask. By summer, that garden became a place of connection, fresh food, shared stories, even a weekly potluck. But it didn't happen because Harold had a perfect blueprint. It happened because he took one small step, and then another. That's your first lesson today. Start smaller than you think. Your vision might feel overwhelming. How do I write a book? How do I run a mile? How do I mend a relationship? Break it down into such tiny steps that they're almost laughably easy. Harold didn't rebuild a garden, he planted 6 tomato seeds. What's your version of that? Maybe it's writing 1 paragraph a day. Walking to the mailbox and back. Sending a text that says, "I'd like to talk." Tiny steps build momentum, and momentum builds miracles. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, setbacks. Because they will happen. You'll wake up tired. Life will throw a curveball. Maybe you'll even think, why bother? That's when you need to remember your why. Harold's first tomatoes got eaten by rabbits. Did he quit? No. He bought chicken wire and planted again. He said, if I wait for perfect conditions, nothing will ever grow. Here's the truth, obstacles aren't a sign you're on the wrong path. They're proof you're on the right one. So when you hit a wall, ask yourself, what's this here to teach me? Maybe it's patience. Maybe it's creativity. Maybe it's just stubbornness. Harold learned to laugh at the rabbits. They're just hungry, he said. Can't blame him for that. Your second lesson, embrace the messy middle. Progress isn't a straight line, it's a dance. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, maybe a little twirl when no one's looking. The key is to keep showing up. Even for 5 minutes. Even when it feels pointless. Because those 5 minutes? They add up. They become habits. And habits become your new story. Finally, let's talk about momentum. You know that feeling when you're on a swing? The first few pumps are hard, but once you're flying, it's effortless. Momentum works the same way. Start with consistency, not intensity. Harold watered his plants every morning, rain or shine. Some days he stayed 5 minutes, some days, an hour. But that daily ritual became his anchor. Soon, the garden wasn't just a project, it was a part of him. Your turn. What's your tiny, daily ritual? Maybe it's opening that journal every morning with your coffee. Playing 1 chord on the guitar. Stretching for 60 seconds. Don't worry about results yet, just build the rhythm. And here's the secret, on days you don't feel like it, do it anyway. Not because you have to, but because you're someone who keeps promises to yourself now. You've got everything you need already. Harold did. Margaret did. And so do you. Next time, we'll talk about how to protect your vision from the noise, the doubts, the distractions, the what-ifs. But for now, take that tiny step. Plant those seeds. And watch what grows. Part 3, The Power of Obsessive Clarity, Protecting Your Vision and Living Fully. You've planted your seeds. You've started showing up, day after day, even when it felt small. But let's be honest, somewhere along the way, something tried to derail you. Maybe it was a voice in your head whispering, "Who do you think you are?" Or a well-meaning friend saying, "Shouldn't you be enjoying retirement instead of stressing?" Let me tell you about Eleanor. At 76, she decided to write a memoir for her grandchildren. But every time she sat down to write, her inner critic showed up. "Your stories don't matter," it hissed. "No one will care." Even her son joked, "Mom, just relax and watch TV." But Eleanor? She didn't fight the doubt. She named it. She'd say, "Oh, there's Edna again, my inner grump. Edna, honey, I'll get back to you after I finish this chapter." Eleanor finished that memoir. And when her grandkids read it, they said it was the greatest gift she'd ever given them, a piece of her heart, preserved. But she couldn't have done it without learning to protect her vision from the noise. And that's what we're tackling today, how to guard your clarity like the treasure it is. First, silence the saboteurs, internal and external. You know the ones, "Aren't you too old for this? Why bother?" Even your own fears dressed up as logic. Here's the trick, stop arguing with them. Thank them for their opinion, and keep going. Eleanor didn't waste energy convincing Edna she was wrong. She just wrote anyway. Every time doubt knocks, say, "Not today." Then do the work. Second, build your tribe. You don't need everyone's support, just a few who get it. Harold had his neighbors. Margaret joined a local art group. Eleanor found an online writing community for seniors. Find your people. They'll remind you why you started when the path gets foggy. And if you can't find them, be your own champion. Post a note on your mirror, "I'm doing this." And it matters. Finally, and this is crucial, celebrate the invisible wins. The days you showed up when no one was watching. The sentence you wrote, the step you took, the call you made. Harold didn't celebrate when the garden was done, he celebrated every sprout, every weed pulled, every smile from a neighbor. Progress isn't just in the finish line. It's in the grit it takes to keep walking. Let me ask you something, when was the last time you gave yourself credit for how far you've come? Not just in this journey, but in life? You've survived losses. Adapted to changes. Loved fiercely. That resilience? It's still in you. And it's fuel for whatever comes next. Your vision doesn't have to change the world. It just has to change you, to remind you that you're still capable of wonder, growth, and joy. So here's your final mission, keep going. Not perfectly. Not relentlessly. But persistently. When Edna yells, thank her for caring, and keep typing. When the garden floods, plant again. When the world says slow down, whisper, watch me. The host picks up a small, weathered lantern and lights it, the flame flickering brightly. Clarity isn't a destination. It's a light you carry. And as long as you keep moving forward, that light will show you the way, to purpose, to pride, to the kind of life that makes you leap out of bed in the morning and think, I'm not done yet. I want to hear your story. Share it in the comments. Tell me about your vision, your tiny steps, your stubborn Edness. Let's inspire each other. And if this resonated with you, hit like, share it with someone who needs a nudge, and subscribe. Because it's not just about dreams. It's about proving that the best chapters of your life can start, right now. Here's to your next chapter. However you write it.